Mixing colors with either a paintbrush or a palette knife. Which one's better? Well, it depends. Let me explain. I got you. So if you are mixing large quantities of paint, let's say you want to do a canvas background and you have a large piece of canvas, you want to just paint over that and you have to use a lot of paint. Let's say you're using acrylic or you're using oil. I personally would use a palette knife. The reason why is because it does keep the colors clean and it's easier to clean up. You could use a paintbrush, but stay with me here. I'll explain that soon. The other tools that you could use to mix in large quantities of paint is you could use a spoon. Sure, hey, go for that. You could actually use a dining knife if you want to, but you could also use the back end of a paintbrush too as well. It's gonna take some time, but let's say you don't have any tools or you don't have a palette knife or whatever, but make sure it's something of a hard surface that you're gonna use that to mix it with, because it's gonna be easier to clean and it's also going to keep your colors clean. So the reason why again, this is me. So the thing with using a paintbrush to mix your colors is it doesn't mix it evenly. Let's say if you want a pure green, it's not gonna mix it evenly for you. And also the thing is, as you're mixing those two colors together to get green, you're pushing more paint down into the bristles, honestly. And so sometimes it does get stuck and sometimes it gets harder to clean, but I have a video on cleaning, taking care of your paintbrush. I'm gonna link it up here or somewhere down in the description below. But it's just, if you want a pure color, it's just not gonna be as even as it is just because you're using a paintbrush. But, hold on, chill, wait. You could use a paintbrush to mix two colors together if you're looking for more interesting brush strokes or a more interesting green. That's where the fun really begins. Let me show you. Okay, so I have two colors here. Now, by the way, check out my mixing colors video. It's an old ass video, all the way from 2020, but it is still useful for anything you want to learn on mixing colors. I have two colors here. I have yellow and I have blue, and I'm going to make green. So I'm going to use a palette knife because I want to keep it very clean. I want to just use that, let's say, for a background. Bear with me here. Okay, so I like to always mix colors. Again, check out that video, it's gonna help. I always like to use the light first. And then, because the dark is a dominant color, meaning it's very strong, I like to just put that last because I use a very small bit of it, depending on what kind of green you're going for. So I'm just gonna use a little bit of blue. So I have this lime green here. Let's say I'm just gonna go for a lime green for the background, okay? So, yeah, let me gather all that up and then let me slice it. So, you see over here, like you can see some yellow in here, that's fine. But for the most part, this is the lime green that I'm going for. And it's clean, it's easy. Look at this, I'm gonna wipe it. If I had used some liquid, it would have been crystal clean. No wahala, look, see? Isn't that nice? Now, we're gonna use a paintbrush. We're just going to use a paint. We're not gonna cheat and use a palette knife. We're just going to use a paintbrush and we're gonna mix fairly, if it's not lime green, it's fine. But we're just gonna use a paintbrush and we're gonna mix the same thing. I like to push the paint out and then mix my color here so I can have a clean surface. But fine, let's say, again, I wanna get some of that yellow. So as I'm pushing some of that yellow out, right, and I kinda wanna put it into this place here, I'm getting so much yellow onto my paintbrush already, you see? And some of that yellow too is also getting pushed down here. I don't know if you can see really closely, but it's getting pushed down. But fine, I can't retake, again, this is just me, the amount of yellow that I want. So anyways, let's say I kind of want it to be smooth. See, and also as I'm mixing it too, I want it to be smooth, but a lot of that clunk it's getting into the paintbrush, it's staying on the paintbrush. I want it to stay down onto the palette, but it's not. And then let's mix it up. The problem is it's stuck onto my brush. I want it to be onto the like stay on the palette. Where are you going? See, it's like, and so this is the problem, right? And then you have it's all uneven, right? So again, maybe you're like, oh, you're not mixing it long enough. Okay, yeah, you're right. So let me get a little bit more blue. Again, the problem is too much paint that I have to mix because it gets stuck onto the paintbrush. But now let's go onto the canvas and let's see how that looks. But so also the nice thing about using a palette knife to mix your paint is, I think I already mentioned it. Again, you can kind of take these two colors, slice it, boom, right? Set it aside and just say you want to have that green, slice it, set it aside, boom. That's another advantage of kind of using that and then just mix it exclusively, you know? So again, with a paintbrush, you know, it kind of gets messy because of the soft bristles and everything, and it's hard to kind of pull aside two colors and kind of mix it. So it's just messy. Okay, so we're on the canvas. I have a blank small canvas here, and I'm gonna play fair here. So I'm gonna use another clean brush, and First, I'm going to use this to take the lime green using the palette knife. Boom. Let's see. Let's just draw this. I mean, not draw, but like just put this here. So this is fairly clean, right? And so what I'm also gonna do is I'm trying to play fair here. I'm taking a new paintbrush and I'm mixing the yellow and the blue together. And I'm taking my time to mix it properly. See, so we put this onto the canvas. So I'm trying to make a point here. So the thing is, what I've found is when I mix paint using a paintbrush and I apply it onto the canvas, I tend to sometimes get more interesting colors. So, man, if you guys could see it, if you really look very closely, you can see a little bit of blues in here, and then you can see a little bit of yellows. But the nice thing is your brain is so smart enough that when it sees those two colors kind of smushed together, like your brain already tells you, okay, yeah, that's gonna form green. And anyways, it's already surrounded by green anyway. So when you step back from the painting, you're gonna see it pure green. When you really look closely, you're gonna see all these interesting blues and yellows here. And that, my friends, can make a painting very interesting. Future 80 Quotes here again. I say some things and I have to clarify. So I'm gonna clarify this. So I was talking about mixing your colors with a paintbrush. And then I also pointed out that you can sometimes see some interesting colors. You can see some blues, you can see some yellows that are separated. And the reason why is also because when you have a paintbrush, the head of a paintbrush has bristles, and all these you can't even count the bristles. There's just so many of them. When you're mixing the paint with a paintbrush, first of all, you have to take a long time to mix the paint just so that you can kind of get all the colors that you mix together off the bristles onto the palette, separately, so that it can kind of unify itself to make that green. But what you're also gonna find is that it's not gonna be perfect. And when you put it onto the canvas, you're gonna have some bristles, some tiny, tiny bristles that have blue, some tiny, tiny bristles that still have some separate yellow. And so when you put it onto the canvas, although you might have a unified green as a whole, when you look very closely, you're gonna see some of those blue streaks, you're gonna see some of those yellow streaks. That's what makes it interesting. However, if I switch over here to the palette knife one, you really don't see that much of blues or yellows. I mean, I don't see any of it because I mixed it really well with the palette knife. And again, you're keeping it very clean using a palette knife. So those are the kind of the two differences between mixing your paint with either a palette knife or a paintbrush. Basically, in summary, using a palette knife to kind of mix your paint keeps the colors a little bit, it keeps it clean, honestly. It really does keep it clean, and the cleanup for this is easier. Now I'm going to have to spend time cleaning these paintbrushes. And the thing is, again, so here, I'm not saying, oh no, you shouldn't use a paintbrush to mix colors. No, you can. Again, it depends on what you're looking for, what you're trying to go for. If you want to spend time cleaning paintbrush, hey, go for it. If you want to My thing is, I've always had a problem, and again, I showed that in my last video. I've had a problem with taking care of my paintbrushes and going through so many paintbrushes. I'm scared to do that, honestly, to mix colors with. So the thing is, while I'm painting, I do it occasionally, but I don't do it for large quantities of paint. That's where, you know, you're gonna kind of get paint kind of stuck in the bristles. You're gonna kind of push it down a little bit more. But on the other hand, again, with the summary is that you can make your painting look very, very interesting mixing colors with a paintbrush. But like for small details, like somewhere a little bit on the face of a painting, I don't know, in the corner of an apple or something, or like if you're doing a small apple to make that green, you can make it very, very interesting. So there's positives and negatives for all of them. Yeah, so those are my tips. Those are my recommendations of mixing colors, either using a palette knife or a paintbrush. If you liked this video, press that like button, subscribe. I'm gonna try again to do another video probably in another month, in the next month or something. But yeah, so we're good. We're good, right? Yeah, we're good. See you guys in the next video.